This is Melchior. He's Jewish, a banker. He's bringing with him two other bankers, Warburg and Wasserman.
Jews?
$500,000 Jews fought in the German army. Germany feels that expert Jewish bankers will ensure the best possible treaty.
Is the train going to be stopped?
Several times, sir. I'm told it's immobilized now.
Where?
Verdun.
Good. 420,000 men died in Verdun. 9 villages disappeared. There's not a single tree standing.
Brockdorf Rantzau, foreign minister. He's the leader, very tough. Herr Giesberts, postmaster general. Not much information on him. Dr. Walter Simons, German Foreign Office, specializes in law. He'll probably be doing the writing for the delegation.
The lies.
Is he reasonable, Simon?
He's German.
The voyage through the Germans' handiwork is half over.
Die Staatsarchive sind versiegelt. Wir haben keine Dokumente, die die wahren Motive unserer Führer zu Kriegsbeginn enthüllen.
Die Führer machten sich eindeutig der groben Fehleinschätzung schuldig.
Die Invasion Belgiens hätte nie stattfinden dürfen. Das werden wir anerkennen.
Wir haben bereits gesagt, wir werden für Belgien bezahlen.
Richtig.
The Germans, Clemenceau says, are beaten, but they're not crushed. We must finish the job. For those who died and for those who have yet to be born.
Die anderen Führer haben auch Fehler begangen. Lloyd George, die Franzosen, haben die keine Schuld.
Und Wilson.
Schuld gibt es genügend auf allen Seiten. Aber wir werden nicht für die anderen bezahlen. Warum sollten wir auch? Es war Krieg.
In the end, if Germany feels that she's been unjustly treated, she will find the means of exacting retribution.
I think we heard that before.
If history has taught us anything, it has taught us that.
History has taught France other lessons.
Clemenceau has been waiting for this day since he witnessed Germany invade France 45 years ago. Later, he would say 20 times during the war it was believed France was dead. Did they really think I was going to back down now? French authorities, fearing riots, have directed the train to an isolated station near Versailles.
They were a sad lot, the Germans, with their drawn, dejected faces and tired, staring eyes, like men who've been hammered at the stock exchange.
The German delegation is immediately transported to Versailles. It will be housed in the Hotel des Reservoirs. The Germans established their headquarters in the hotel basement. They are certain there are listening devices in the walls, that their phones are being tapped. They are right. Wilson is receiving cables from the United States warning him the League is in trouble. And now the Hun is just down the road. The Germans are playing music loudly to hide their conversations from Allied ears. Tannhauser is a favorite.
Kriegsschuld wird zur Sprache kommen. Wir wissen das.
Haben wir immer noch Wilson auf unserer Seite?
Ich nehme an.
Es gibt große Meinungsverschiedenheiten im Rat. Sie werfen Wilson vor, nachgiebig mit den Deutschen zu sein. Ich denke, er wird uns trotzdem einen gerechten Frieden geben.
Sprechen Sie noch über den Kaiser?
Ich denke, fasziniert Sie.
The Kaiser's under house arrest in Holland. The Germans would be humiliated if he were prosecuted. As the Germans wait, the conference is creating small states that might one day protect France, just in case peace doesn't work. "15 weeks into the conference. 100,000 troops a month are still coming home. They bring with them stories of German atrocities. In Wilson's study, there is an uneasy standoff. 3 of the leaders are old-school politicians who seek security in midnight alliances. The 4th has brought his Bible to a poker game. French newspapers are now criticizing the man they once proclaimed a god.
He doesn't mind being called pro-German. What he minds are the funny little jokes the French papers make about him.
It turns out the editorials were ordered by the French government. Wilson is threatening to leave Paris.
With regard to press criticism, especially to ridicule, Mr. Lloyd George and Monsieur Clemenceau were gloriously thick-skinned. Mr. Wilson retained his schoolgirl complexion.
As the negotiations drag on, Hungary succumbs to communism. Much of the world is starving, out of work, and disillusioned with the conference. There are strikes in Europe, strikes in North America. All the pent-up anger from the war is boiling over. Paris is scared. The spring of 1919 is particularly cold in Paris. The Allies have turned off the heat in the Germans' hotel.
Der Druck der russischen Armee auf die deutsche Grenze, das muss dargelegt werden. Wir brauchen Beweise, die müssen aus Berlin kommen. Stellen Sie das bitte an. Der Kurier kommt um 14:30 Uhr. Ich komme dann zum Unterschreiben. Simons, Ich habe Ihnen gerade gesagt, bevor die Schreiben nach Berlin wegkommen, die Eilschreiben, dass wir unbedingt die Unterlagen brauchen zwischen dem Grenzzustand mit Russland von Anfang 1913 bis Ende 13.
When would you like to send for the Germans? They want to know.
We've got a few details to clear up with draft proposal of the treaty first. Why not let them enjoy the French countryside? It's been a grueling trip, not easy. Qu'on laisse un peu ces salopards se montrer devant tout le monde.
Parisians by the hundreds keep a vigil in front of the German hotel. It makes them forget they're hungry.
Gestern und heute nach dem Frühstück war ich im Park, wo es schöne Bäume gibt. Riesige Zedern und Platanen. Ich habe inzwischen eine gute internationale Verständigung mit der Goldamsel aufgebaut. Im Hintergrund all dieser Lieblichkeit der Schatten des Schicksals. Als wollte er nach uns greifen. Er wird zunehmend dunkler und kommt immer näher.
After months of negotiation, it has become clear each of the big four wants a very different kind of peace. Britain wants to continue to rule the seas. Italy's out for loot. France wants protection against the day when Germany might return. America wants the world's conscience, wants her loans repaid. Reparations is still trying to find out what Germany is worth to anybody.
The German merchant marine might fetch $600 million.
Auctioning off the German Navy won't be easy. It won't get what it's worth.
Foreign securities, have we got an estimate there?
From a low of $500 million to $1.25 billion. They're not in a hurry to open their books to their overseas accounts.
Somebody better push them.
Well, that will happen very soon.
We think in Latin America and elsewhere, German-owned private property might raise at a pinch another $500 million.
Well, this is not what we expected.
Sum total, $300 billion maximum. She needs most of that to stay alive.
What did he promise them? 200 billion?
No, that was a politician's pipe dream. They've not got the money, not even close.
I'm sure you know the French are describing your numbers quite differently.
This is Paris. Everybody keeps their own ledgers. Everybody's got maps.
Keynes is veering further and further from the enormous numbers the leaders have promised. Putting a price on a world war is proving difficult. Days pass. The Germans hear nothing. Brockdorff-Rantzau tells Walter Siemens to write 2 responses to the treaty, whose contents he can only guess at. One response will be conciliatory, one harsh. After a week of enforced waiting, the Germans are informed they will be presented with the draft treaty at 3 o'clock that afternoon.
In 10 Minuten werden uns die Automobile zur Sitzung im Trianon Palace Hotel bringen, wo wir die Friedensbedingungen unserer Feinde hören werden. Sie werden auf die eine oder andere Weise für kommende Generationen über die Zukunft des Deutschen Reiches entscheiden.
The sight of Count Brockdorff-Rantzau sends a shiver through the crowd.
L'heure de notre pénible règlement de compte a sonné. Vous avez réclamé la paix, eh bien nous sommes ici pour vous la donner. Vous nous avez imposé la guerre. Nous allons faire tout notre possible pour que cela ne puisse plus se reproduire.
The terms of the treaty are harsher than the Germans ever imagined. Germany will be paralyzed for generations. Brockdorff-Rantzau knows which speech to use.
Meine Herren, wir täuschen uns nicht über den Umfang unserer Niederlage, über den Grad unserer Ohnmacht. Wir wissen, dass die Gewalt der deutschen Waffen gebrochen ist. Wir kennen die Wucht des Hasses, die uns hier entgegentritt. Und wir haben die leidenschaftliche Forderung gehört, dass die Sieger uns zugleich als Überwundene zahlen lassen und als Besiegte bestrafen sollen. Es wird von uns erwartet, dass wir uns hier als die allein Schuldigen bekennen. Ein solches Bekenntnis wäre in meinem Munde eine Lüge.
Möge Graf Brockdorff-Rantzau trotz allem seine Würde und seine Selbstbeherrschung bewahren. Meine liebe Frau, in diesen bitteren Stunden spricht deine mutige Seele zu mir, als wäre es die Stimme meines gesamten Volkes.
Der Vertrag, den uns die Feinde überreicht haben, ist, insofern ihn die Franzosen diktiert haben, ein Denkmal krankhafter Furcht und krankhaften Hasses. Und ihn insofern die Anglosachsen diktiert haben, ist es ein Werk kapitalistischer Politik, der brutalsten und der cleversten Art.
Brockdorff-Rantzau has caused a sensation. Nobody speaks to the victors the way he did. The young diplomats worry about pushing Germany too far. André Chardieu replies, "You worry about provoking nationalist feelings in Germany? Germany's defeat in the war beat you to it. So what?"
Dies sollte eine Verhandlung sein zwischen Gleichgestellten.
Wir haben Beweise, dass wir nicht allein für den Krieg verantwortlich sind. Sie müssen uns anhören. Dafür sind wir hier.
Das hat uns Wilson versprochen.
Welcher Friedensvertrag wird von der einen Seite der anderen ohne Diskussion aufdiktiert? Sie müssen verrückt sein.
Meine Herren, wir wurden betrogen.
Wir wurden betrogen!
The Germans have 3 weeks to come up with a response. They turn off their music. They no longer care who's listening. While Paris waits for the German response, spring arrives. Life is returning to normal. Three months into the conference, Harold Nicholson has maneuvered himself close to the inner sanctum.
Wilson takes a map, spreads it on the carpet in an alcove room and kneels down. We all squat in a circle around him. The president throws back his great face.
"Well," he exclaims, "I didn't come there to discuss confidence. In my judgment, the test is what the people themselves want.
I was conscious there was in Wilson's pronouncements a tinge of revivalism, a touch of Methodist arrogance, and more than a touch of Presbyterian vanity.
With time running out, there's a great push to get the world tidied up. The mapmakers are instructed to squeeze Shia, Sunni, Kurds, and Jews into a new state called Iraq. In Berlin, there are massive protests. German Chancellor Philipp Scheidemann shuts down entertainment for a week to protest the draft treaty.
Für uns führt nur der schmalste aller Pfade über den Abgrund. Dies bedeutet Erniedrigung für Deutschland und Revolution für Europa. Wir müssen unter allen Umständen den Abbruch der Verhandlungen vermeiden.
Constant messages are being sent from the Germans to the Big Four requesting a moderation of the peace terms. The Big Four have problems of their own.
America asks nothing by way of reparation.
What damages did she suffer?
She spent millions of dollars and thousands of lives.
In lives, America lost a little less than Australia.
I'm very unhappy, Mr. President. I have a lot of problems with the socialists and Bolsheviks. And you are cutting my throat.
The treaty must be accepted or rejected the way it now stands.
In Rome, there are fascist leaders named D'Annunzio and Mussolini on the rise. Orlando is failing to get anything in Paris, they cry.
I ask you for a few days to know at least in what sauce you intend to cook me. E lei si rifiuta.
No. I've told you before, I will never accept bartering peoples like that.
Italia satisfied will remain absolutely firm and calm. But an Italia discontented and disappointed, that will mean danger for entire world, you understand me?
You do yourself a disservice. And your people.
Orlando and his Italian delegation leave Paris in a huff. Belgium and Japan are threatening to go. The Chinese are not happy. Wilson is gambling. He still has the American people.
Aber natürlich haben wir auch. Nein. Nein. Und ich kann Ihnen sagen...
Allied listening devices reveal frequent long-distance calls from Berlin to Brockdorf-Rantzau.
Das können Sie so nicht vorwegnehmen. Es verbleiben uns noch einige Stunden. Wir haben noch Karten in der Hand. Ja, aber natürlich. Ja. Ja. Nein, mein Name wird nicht unter diesem Dokument stehen. Das kann ich Ihnen versichern. Nein, der Name Brockdorf-Rantzau wird nicht auf diesem Dokument stehen. Sicherlich. Meine Kollegen denken auch so. Ja. Nein, die Ehre des Deutschen Reiches ist teurer. Sicher.
Manchmal nähert sich mir der Versucher. Verschwinde an einen stillen Ort. Geh nach Hause.
The important thing is to persuade these Germans that they are beaten. It must be rammed into their heads.
We have given the Supreme War Council the order to prepare a report on the measures to be taken if the Germans refuse to sign the treaty.
The measures to be taken include a resumption of fighting, a full invasion of Berlin. The Supreme Allied Commander, Marshal Foch, is ready to go. war is a real possibility.
There is not a single person among the younger people here who is not unhappy and disappointed at the terms. The British Treasuryman Keynes is very pessimistic about the German treaty. He considers it not only immoral, but incompetent. The Germans can gain nothing by signing and lose nothing by refusing to sign.
Für uns ist es zu Ende. Jetzt müssen wir an unsere Kinder denken, an unsere Enkelkinder, die die Bürde dessen, was wir hier tun, über Jahrzehnte tragen werden. Sie haben ein Recht zu existieren. Sie haben ein Recht auf ein Land.
Keynes informs Lloyd George that Germany won't be able to pay much more than $10 billion. Lloyd George has promised Britain 30 times that amount. When the conference started, there was snow on the ground. Parisians were told there would be a treaty in 4 weeks. The conference is now in its 5th month. A just peace is as elusive as ever. As the days pass, fewer calls are being intercepted between Brockdorf-Rantzau and Berlin. It is feared the Germans might look for friends elsewhere. Harold Nicholson writes, "In the battle of time pressure, we said, better a bad treaty today than a good treaty 4 months hence. I was so confident we were doing it the best way. I was tragically mistaken."
Italien wartet auf die erste Gelegenheit, sich uns anzuschließen und hofft im Stillen darauf, dass wir nicht unterzeichnen. Japan hat uns indirekt davor gewarnt, zu unterzeichnen, weil sie uns später brauchen werden.
Brockdorf-Rantzau is informed Berlin expects the war will start again if the treaty is not ratified. There is tremendous pressure to accept it. With the exception of one trip home, Wilson has been out of America since before Christmas. He was advised to stay in Washington, not to personally negotiate with the Europeans. In Germany, people are at last coming to understand the hatred felt towards them. The days that follow are amongst the most momentous in the history of the world. There are new problems every day, every hour. The one center of power in the world is Paris. 3 leaders who barely get along. While they argue, the world won't stand still.
We're running out of time, Mr. President.
Communism, starvation, workers' revolutions, all are overtaking Europe. They will soon jump the Atlantic.
The Republicans are having a field day in the capital, sir. They think they've got the votes to block the League. They're getting impatient in Texas, sir. The coal workers are striking in Johnstown.
They're hearing rumors about China.
The Chinese learn they're going to lose Shantung, a city of 1 million people, to the Japanese. They were counting on Wilson.
Très bien, merci.
They are not going to sign.
We must show the Junkers who is boss. There will be no compromise.
For months, Lloyd George has pushed Wilson to deal harshly with Germany. Then unexpectedly, he switches, an act of considerable courage.
I'll be quite frank with you. I fear a weak Germany almost as much as I fear a strong belligerent one. If she's weak, she's prey to any demigod who comes along and promises to restore German pride. You know that could happen.
I've heard that before. A weak Germany will also not be able to buy British goods.
You're right, we want to trade with Germany. I admit it. But if you treat them as the enemy, they will not disappoint.
Wilson says no, the treaty must stand as is. Has he compromised so many of his ideals already that his pride won't let him compromise when it's really necessary?
Mr. Lloyd George has discovered that he cannot in 5 days persuade the President of error in what has taken 5 months to prove to him to be just and right. It's harder to de-bamboozle the old Presbyterian than to bamboozle him in the first place.
Keynes, for his part, remains steadfast. He will not endorse Lloyd George's demand for $300 billion. John Maynard Keynes resigns.
Am Abend wurden unsere Koffer verladen und zur Station in Noisy transportiert, wo unser Sonderzug unter Dampf gehalten wurde. Ich fuhr mit ihnen runter zur Bahnstation. Männer, Frauen, Kinder in Dreierreihen. Sie benehmen sich, als wären sie verrückt geworden. Viele Kinder, sie verstehen doch gar nicht, was sie da tun, plappern in Imitation ihrer Eltern. Sie zu sehen, lässt mein Herz sinken. Bald flogen Verwünschungen und Geschosse.
Excuse me, gentlemen. The Germans arrived in Weimar 3 hours ago. Brockdorf, Ronsau, Simons, they've all resigned, even the Chancellor Scheidemann.
I'm not sad.
We just received a cable. Orlando's government has fallen. He's out.
In Italy, black-shirted fascists are beating up detractors in the streets. Over the last 5 months, the mapmakers have redrawn the borders of Europe, the Middle East, the Far East, and Africa. They have done their best. It is time to rest. Wilson has exhausted all his moral and physical strength getting the League of Nations. Germany, he believes, will eventually become part of the League of Nations and redeem itself. Wilson has always been a dreamer. Two days before the signing, the Germans scuttled their interned fleet. Their pride won't let the Allies have their warships. This act of treachery convinces any last-minute doubters that Germany cannot be trusted. In the final days, a new government takes power in Germany. Two reluctant German officials, Müller and Bell, are found to sign the peace agreement. Rumors abound that they'll sign, then shoot themselves. Or they'll shoot Wilson. Truth has never been easy to find in Paris.
I told Mr. Lloyd George that he shouldn't leave the Germans too alone with their vessels. I think I know them better than he does.
The Great War started 1,797 days ago. In a few hours, it will be over. The Treaty of Versailles will be signed. Harold Nicholson will witness the signing. Versailles is the final entry in his Paris diary.
When we reach Versailles, the crowd thickens. The avenue up to the chateau is lined with cavalry in steel blue helmets. The captured German cannon have tactfully been removed.
Walter Siemens is in Germany with his wife as the treaty is being signed. For a period of time, he will be the Chancellor of Germany until men more extreme than he take over. Men who will repudiate the Treaty of Versailles. Keynes is in London as the treaty is being signed.
Oh, that was a politician's pipe dream. They've not got the money, not even close.
His figure of $10 billion is almost exactly what Germany ends up paying. The Chinese decide not to sign the treaty. Wilson has alienated 500 million people. Vittorio Orlando is also not at the signing.
We need a port to Harbour.
Orlando never gets his port. Benito Mussolini promises to do better.
If she's weak, she's a prey to any demigod who comes along and promises to restore German pride.
Britain doesn't get much in the way of German gold. She never again owns the high seas. Georges Clemenceau comes closest to getting what he wants from the treaty.
We want our countries made whole again.
But the French had been promised protection from Germany for all time. It is already clear the treaty won't deliver that. Clemenceau is rejected by the French people when he runs for president in the next election. He dies alone, a bitter man. Woodrow Wilson returns to America and continues lobbying for the League of Nations. His health is not good. He pushed himself to the limit in Paris.
I will never accept bartering peoples like that.
We enter the Hall of Mirrors. In front, like a guillotine, is the table for the signatures. The Republican guards at the doorway flash their swords into the scabbards with a loud click.
Faites entrer les Allemands. Nous sommes ici pour signer un traité de paix.
Clemenceau looks small and yellow, a crunched homunculus.
Suddenly, from outside comes the crash of guns. It announces to the world the treaty has been signed. The Great War is finally over.
Clemenceau emerges from the door below me. He's joined by Wilson and Lloyd George. The crowds upon the terrace burst through the cordon of troops. The top hats of the Big Four are lost in a sea of gesticulation.
Germany never forgives the West for the Treaty of Versailles. The winds of war are already blowing as Paris celebrates. America ultimately rejects the League of Nations. Woodrow Wilson dies 2 years later. He never stopped believing in the League of Nations.
The peace negotiators of Paris were convinced that they would not commit the blunders or iniquities of the Congress of Vienna. Future generations will be equally convinced that they will be immune from the defects which assailed the negotiators of Paris. Yet they, in their turn, will be exposed to similar microbes of infection, to the eternal inadequacy of human intelligence.
The Treaty of Versailles was supposed to give meaning to the lives of the tens of millions of dead and wounded in the Great War. It didn't do that. It did teach that military conquest alone offers no lasting safety. It would take another world war, another 40 million dead, for the world to start to learn how to make peace.